Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to gather here today. And as you know, this was the khutbah topic on Friday. And will be today's Sunday Talim that mirrors that same thing. as you know, this was the topic for the Kutbah on Friday and to that thing. Today, April 27th, Masjid al-Mu'minun, Memphis, Tennessee. We'll take a small pause to make salah, and then we'll begin the talim.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. حي على الفجر قامت الصلاة قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Stay back and intention to make 4 rakats, salah to Dhuhr, line straight. We pray as though we see Allah or not. We know that Allah sees us. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. We thank Allah for allowing us to gather here today. Again, as you know, this was the topic of the khutbah on Friday. These Talim mirrors that the topic was AI bringing dawah to the machine. Today, we want to take it a little bit deeper and also take it just a little bit wider. And yes, to even take it a little bit stronger in a way that directly addresses the urgent times that we live in. Very urgent, very unique times. This Talim is different. It is a call to arms, not in anger, not in aggression, but in intelligence and creativity, and in preparation. And this call today is aimed first and foremost to our youth, to our respected elders. We honor you. Your presence, wisdom, your experiences, your prayers. These are all the pillars upon which we all stand. And today, what we ask is you be with us as advisors and guardians of wisdom. But we encourage the space to allow minds in the audience as who are online, primary voices today. The ones who question, the ones who challenge, as the ones who inherit the mission of building a world that reflects the highest aims of our religion, our deen. Amen. The new world that we are in and that we are entering in will not wait for us to catch up. It's already here and it's moving extremely fast. The topic that we speak about today, again, is artificial intelligence. And we speak today about artificial intelligence because it's not coming, it's already here. It's not waiting, it's already reshaping everything around us. And so we have to ask a very important question. How will Islam live inside of this world? Who among our youth will be the architects of the next generation? Cities, hospitals, the universities, and their masajid. I want to start with a brief story, a true story. I was given an opportunity to launch a youth housing and development program. I was working for a nonprofit organization based in DC and had a local office in Memphis. Normally, launching a project of this type would have taken a team of about 10 people working full time. It would have taken months to maybe a couple of years to execute this project. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with technology as my companion and my tool, I was able to build that infrastructure almost single-handedly. Handling community partnerships, data collection, everything. And half the time it would have normally taken a full team.
Alhamdulillah.
Now, this isn't a story to speak about how great I am, because that's not how it occurred. Because I didn't do it by myself. I didn't have another human being to help me, however. Again, the company was and still is based out of DC, and there was only one human resource here in the city of Memphis, Tennessee, where the project launched. And that was myself. How to do it? I did it with tools that made it possible for just one determined individual, fueled by vision, to do the work of many. For our pioneers, our elders, for our advisors, we've all walked a path where you've all experienced situations where you've seen something you wanted to change, and you just may feel like there's just not enough people to do it. We're the people who are going to carry this particular function forward. Starting that job, that's exactly what I felt. About a company, very lofty aspirations of helping youth here in Memphis come out of a situation that I grew up in. So I had a lot of passion for this project. Didn't give me again a co-worker. any particular guidance. First, with the guidance of Islam, philosopher Allah made readily available tools, enabling technologies. Allah tells us in the Quran, and He taught Adam the names of all things. Technology is one of those names. It is during the khutbah, we mentioned, or it was mentioned, how the Quran, Kalamullah, was written in an oral culture. Allah revealed it to the heart of the He spoke it amongst the people, and they memorized it. There are, however, a couple of manuscripts or tablets that contain the words that were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu. But then there was a concerted effort to attempt to put out that knowledge. Their knowledge was threatened to be eradicated. It was by the wisdom of one of the companions of the Prophet to take that oral tradition and put it into paper to preserve it. The time now, where now the methods of communications are changing rapidly. And for the young people that we do have in the audience today, I have a couple of questions. If the microphone will go around. For our youth, simple question. It's 3 parts. The first question is, what technologies do you use today?
Assalamualaikum.
What
The technology that I use is either my phone or the TV.
Where the answer? So, on your phone or your computer, just give apps. Just give us 3 apps that you use on your phone or your computer.
Netflix and YouTube.
Alhamdulillah. Have you given a thought about how those things can connect you to your religion?
Can watch different things about Islam and stuff like that.
How can you use it to serve Islam yourself?
At school, I had to do a podcast, so for my AV class, so I could talk about it, and the episodes go on YouTube.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Three different technologies, if you will.
My phone, my iPad, and my AirPods.
All right, on the phone. It can be on your phone. It can be on your computer. Just 3 technologies that you use on those devices.
Instagram, TikTok, and Netflix.
So we have those 3 apps. so far. What or how have you thought about how those will connect to your religion?
Like around Ramadan, like my For You page is we filled with other people participating in Ramadan, so it kind of makes me feel connected with other Muslims.
Knowing that, how can you about how to use those same tools for you to serve Islam?
I can use the platforms that I have to spread the message.
Alhamdulillah. I'll mention a couple of others, and thank the young Muslims for participating. There was also a blind survey to see what applications are being used and where to bridge the gap in the tools that need to be used and the ones that are here now that are taking over pretty much the space where we study. I was mentioning for the nonprofit organization that existed in DC. So community development being accomplished by the vision of an organization in Washington, DC, launching a project in Mississippi, being ran by an individual, it will need to be run by teams. For that project to reach its success, as a spoiler alert, it reached success in half the time it would have taken a traditional team. For the organization, I had the rare chance of visiting one of the organization's parent facilities. There were a whole being showcased at these facilities. I'll add a couple more, just one or two. Is there not familiar with ChatGPT? Couple hands not familiar with ChatGPT. Is there anyone familiar with Google? Yeah, Google's kind of already spread off there. Well, we use Google to search where we and go through the card catalog to find what we were looking for. But removed the viable need to do that moving forward. Books that you would have to dig through maybe the Library of Congress if you were looking for something, you can now go to Google and see the same book within seconds. ChatGPT, worth knowing. It is the replacement to Google. I'm surprised students don't know it because I think it has been a mistake for a lot of teachers for quite some time. Yeah, a really bad rap for anybody who's been in education. You give someone a research paper, they're supposed to go home, they're supposed to read a long book about the topic. They're supposed to use their own genuine thoughts to input a book report. For all of us who taught education in ourselves when we were students, we know what that process looked like. This tool by itself to input a link to a book. So you're talking maybe 1,000-page book, a lot of concepts. You'll read that approximately about 3 minutes. Incorporate everything that's included in that book. From a perspective on that book. In a fraction of the time it would take a human being to even read a book to begin with. ChatGPT, other tools as well that do just as amazing fraction of the time. At this facility, it was at the center of some technologies that enable a person to do something that they ordinarily could not be able to do, function alone. They had greenhouses growing food with AI managed irrigation, facilities, urban farming, all done. What was the biggest thing about this trip that makes it the point or an example for today's discussion? What I saw and what's the most was seeing a paraplegic patient at this, and he was paralyzed from the bottom of his chin down to the very top of his neck down, but not very much, because he didn't have the function of his lower jaw or anything from that point down. But he could control his wheelchair simply. It's not a movie. This is something I saw in real life. My colleagues were impressed with the wheelchair and its functionality. I was floored by the concept that he was controlling this wheelchair without any motion. If any one of us has seen the wheelchairs that used to be able to be controlled by a straw that someone had to blow into, as well. No jaw, just as mine. And I witnessed with my own eyes as he navigated around a tight boardroom. As they were making us aware of the other technology, he was the most impressive of all. He came into that tight boardroom where we were discussing enabling technology, and he was able to turn the wheelchair 360-degree motion. And then he parked it perfectly beside someone. Not science fiction, not Hollywood, just real technology. And just letting that sit for a second. If a paralyzed man can move things with his thoughts, what can you build with your mind, your will, and your knowledge of it, and today's technology? Eventually, from that tight spot where he had parked his wheelchair, he was able to back it out, turn it around at another 180 degrees, and leave the room without bumping into anybody or anything. Wrote in a monumental work called Tahafatul al-Falasifa, book called The Incoherence. Is not enough without revelation. He, during his time, did an amazing thing. He challenged the greatest minds of philosophy as we know them, Aristotle, Plato, and dumbfounded them by proving that only divine guidance can navigate reality fully. Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, similarly taught that human knowledge must always submit to Quranic knowledge. That innovation without Tawheed, betrayal, not an advancement. So what we say today is artificial intelligence must submit to divine intelligence and not the other way around. Our imperative is we must prepare our own to lead in these fields. Let's take one example. Artificial intelligence in gynecology. The Quran describes the phase of human development from alaka, or the clot, to mudga, a lump, and they are long before any sonogram or microscope, the stages of birth. Allahu Ta'ala. Then we made the sperm drop into a clinging clot and made the clot into a lump and made the lump bones. And then we covered the bones with flesh. Then we developed him into another creation. Quran. In embryo development research and birthing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already informed us about centuries ago. Surah 23, ayah 14. Other critical fields, neurology. Neural brain machine, as they call them, like the wheelchair I described. Robotics.
Hi, Sonny.
Islam.
I want to digress just a minute. You were talking about gynecology and the development of the human.
Mhm.
What came to mind was people beginning to believe that they are greater than the creator. And with AI manipulation and of things to make things be what it is not, I could see very easily how to think that with AI, I can when we start talking about I mean it started with people not everybody want to know what they're gonna have. You know you're gonna have a baby. We were all right years ago with grants you is what you have, and you say alhamdulillah. Now everybody I gotta know what it is, and there and Allah made a mistake somewhere. I gotta know what it is before it gets here, kind of attitude. And I think that even with when that started, I never bought into the idea, okay, because the creation from the creator is what it is what Allah has created. It's no mistake in it. Every life is by Allah's lead. So when we have to be not satisfied with is what I would be pleased with. So with AI to fruition, with what it is and how it is trying to manipulate things in creation to say that, to make it they have the control over it. We still have to remember what Allah is still the creator of everything seen and unseen. And all, if everything happens by Allah's lead. So yes, there's a way for Allah to give you some of what that exists only with the creator, but you don't have all of it. You never will. But I think that sometimes with what is now with that AI and all that is people get out of themselves and to think that, oh, I can control life and death and all of this type of stuff. That's all.
Like Islam. And thank you for that. And that's not a digression. That is one of the core of the discussion. The presence of these tools are here. Industry disrupting, once, whatever the dominant technology, newer technology is, it has, at least historically, all very pertinent questions as to what we can do with it, to use it, was the design of the vision, was the vision and the understanding of the Muslim. And it has always been and will always be our responsibility to master those techniques and to use them in the way Allah has used them. Wa alaikum salam.
Mike. Have a question.
Yes, sir.
I got a question. I'm a skeptic at heart, but I do believe in the philosophical concept mind over matter. But my understanding of mind over matter was man's intellect being able to make matter of service to them. So I'm trying to think, and I'm thinking about the person who's controlling his. So, in your research, did you discover or determine what's the connectivity? Is it connected electrical? Is it connected with the electrical movement of the natural brain, or there's got to be a connection to just a thought traveling through to make matter move. In the skeptic's opinion. So I'm just wondering, did you discover in your observation or speaking with that speaking in that environment determine how that was, other than just
In the observation, and that's a great question, and it was a question I had when I saw it happen, as well as before I mentioned it here. To answer the first part of your question, no, I didn't get an answer for that. I didn't even ask. The question in that environment, this was a team of sales reps. So they were selling the technology. But as you mentioned, the synapses, this is a neurological function. Who can answer that particular question for me? So I was extremely reluctant to mention it in a public setting until I could understand how the neurological components connected to make that happen. I do, however, have it's an organization called Charles Lee. It's in North Carolina, who created the actual device. And as you guessed, they're a little closed mouth on how the neurological connections function. However, they do have the technology readily available for viewing. And in this man, these functions, this wasn't the tools that were being explained. They were explaining some other tools, some that were a little palatable and believable, even if you didn't see it. I happened to observe the young man who came into the room, and I did get an opportunity to ask one question. And synapses is the only answer I received. that together. I've been interested in that. But I'm a lot stronger in technology than I am in neurology. So I couldn't even fathom it. Now, it did open a wide into what must have been understood about the brain to accomplish that task.
I can see mine.
That's all like-
Like remote control.
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying, I can see mine over matter. I can see mine over with, without me having to touch the thing physically. But that's using so the remote control is empowering the individual to move without putting his finger on it, so to speak. One time a brother, my son Rashid, was in the room and he asked him, he said, how the older brother who wanted to change the television asked to where the remote control. Rashid was about 6. He said, you had to get up and turn it off. There's no remote control. So I can understand that kind of technology, but I got a question about a thought in and of itself being powerful enough to move matter. I did see the movie Lucy. So,
reflecting back on some of the things that we are talking about and consider as Muslims. This AI, artificial intelligence and things of that nature, is that the same process that created that app, it kind of remind me and kept me back to when I first got introduced to Alexis, right? And you tell Alexis what to look at or what you want to hear, and it think about how people are supposed to going into space, sell lights and things of that nature. And I can kind of see how one can use their mind or the thought to something like that to make it react. As Muslims, in the Quran, Allah said, I bless you with the faculties to reason, to come to good conclusions. So in other words, what that's saying to me, giving you a mind to think. I think that for a Muslim is that allow this artificial intelligence and this AI technology and things, since the mind, it came from a thought process to control it. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Okay, my thought here is that whatever law agrees, something that he does not want us as believers to do is to not be fearful of anything that is new. Because things are going to always be changing. And I can see it right now, because when I turn on YouTube and I hear Denzel Washington talking about Ramadan, and it's AI assisted, but it is a way to get the religion out, the information about Islam faster than we are. Because many of us, we don't invite people. You know, if we invited someone here, you know, it would take a Friday or a Sunday for them to get here. But they're right on task what the religion is about. We have so many people listening to these AI generated videos. It says, you know, people are coming into Islam, flooding into this religion. So benefits things, and if Allah has allowed it to happen, there is truly a purpose and a reason for it. Because otherwise it would not occur. But we should not fear anything that comes into existence. And we truly shouldn't grieve over it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. I'm gonna say this because Lily won't say. I have to. She made a comment that I thought was good. In reference to what the man was saying while he was saying about not being able to relate to the person who can move the machine with their mind. And the comment was it's kind of like it hurt. I was saying for her something wrong. She needs to correct me. No, she did not ask me. But I thought it was good because the comment she made it to me, and it said, and what she said was, I'm thinking about somebody in the phone rings. That's all Allah's doing. But even the creator. So, you know, we can, you know, things except, you know, changing the TV. Thought 25 years ago, you have a machine to change your TV, you don't have to get up. You know, so things happen, they benefit us, and we look at all things and we see the benefit. You know, we didn't visualize it. Some of us didn't visualize. Somebody had the idea years ago about how to do this, but we didn't all have the idea. Otherwise, we'd have our name patented. So, you know, but we still have to be conscious as what you say. It is used, can be used to as a dawah for Al-Islam. It is what it is. It has been, even though it was and whatever other means that we were looking at, Britannica Encyclopedia to Sheikh Google, you know, and to do quickly, that we wanted to find out about quickly. So, you know, we that have, as progression has taken place over time, you know, and we're in a new realm of life, you know, with this AI concept, and you have to be real careful about it, because they'll put your face on something and it won't be you, and you might say something that you didn't say you said.
Comment that he never really did that.
Yeah.
That's it.
AI generated.
Let me say something else. And kind of, I was thinking about the person that you talk about that was, I was able to experience that first. I have a wife that passed from, I don't know if anyone medical term, ALS. And she too was paralyzed from the neck down. And to communicate with her, you had to learn how to read her eyes. Want that she couldn't feed herself. She couldn't talk. She couldn't breathe alone. Maybe this AI technology may be a blessing. Maybe it may create the cure for this disease. And when you see someone go through that, I've seen it for over a year, how we had to nurture her and do everything for her. not being able to move nothing but your head and your eyes. That's a very terrifying experience. So when you talk about this person that is paralyzed from the neck down, you and can communicate to a device, his mind, maybe some technology in that or something would come out of that that would help people with such diseases as MS. That's all I like.
Walaikum assalam.
Two things
Walaikum assalam.
man when I think about artificial intelligence. Right. The first thing Adam and tree of knowledge, right? The first thing that comes to mind when you think about AI, how man went to another thing, put it to have ability to see. He took something of elements of the earth and put together and created itself, him and his woman. And then I think about how I said that they to him is like 1,000 years to our reckon, or maybe 50,000 years. And we look at how the computer processors, how it acts out, how it moves so fast. It's almost like speed of light type action, right? How our thinks is almost like in the same way. It's like kind of based off of, and us human beings, we created this type of process. And I wonder how far are we really going to take it. We hear or read in Hadith about what's going to be the end result and how far it possibly be and go, but we haven't physically seen it all the way through it, because I can only imagine what AI, you can take the human process and speed it to where it's processing it like a million milliliters seconds and all these types. It's no limit to artificial intelligence can go, but we also must remind us that God put us in place of that, and we have taken those same elements and we created the same process. So that's what
Assalamualaikum. In the medical field, we use it all the time. We have sitters, it's called telesitter. So what you'll do is, at the hospital, I won't name the hospital, we're usually short staffed for physical sitters. There's another hospital, one that will have telesitters, and they can have one AI or computer or person watching it, 10, 20 people. Now let's just say one person, yeah, you can watch a screen, but just say you're watching something else, it will trigger and alert that person watching the screen that this person is attempting to move out of the bed. And we are appreciative for the AI. And of course, you got to get permission to watch the patient in the room. But I'm grateful for AI, and only if we use it. I know people are going to use it for bad, but using it, like he said, it's already here, and we just have to find the positivity in it. Because if it was at the hospital, we could have the staff, because there's times where I have to my staff, because let's just say I'll spell out the word just for the younger people, the SUICD. Well, y'all know the rest of it. And those take priority, pulling at an IV or something like that. So if we have 3 staff
for 40 patients. If I have to pull that patient or pull that staff, that's taking it down. So AI is good. But we could say that staff if we might as well get ready for the next thing. And also, a person that's paralyzed from the neck down is a quadriplegic, and they have wheelchairs, like the eye movement, like he said, neck and chin movement, so you can kind of move your head and just motion like you're turning to the right. It's amazing. So it's here, and it's the smallest things and the biggest things. Alhamdulillah that with this religion, we're gonna even go even more and using it to our benefit. That's my go.
I sound like, it's just like now, you rarely probably got a person with a house phone compared to just say things like it's an emergency or something, the house phone with the person out at home, and you really get in touch with them based on you having the cell phone now. And you can call them and they can go have somebody to come get them, and you know what I'm saying, and be there for you at that time. But just think about it. Back in the day, I remember we had house phone. So basically, it's a gift and a curse, but it's only how you use it and what you do with it. See, I ain't on the AI yet. I ain't got to this thing, but cause I was telling brother Sharif yesterday, I'm like, I don't know too much about the AI now, Jason. But as far as technology, I mean, it's the new thing. It's like everything changed. Everything in the world changed. It's just how you adapt to them and how you use someone.
Assalamualaikum. I think the big thing that we need to think about as Muslims and in this deen of Islam is that we shouldn't change because AI is here. We should know that Allah is Akbar and stick to it. I remember the first time someone said to me that Google knows everything. And I said, you're giving Google Allah's power. Only Allah knows it all. So we should never make those type of statements as Muslims. We should recognize, that Allah is Akbar, no one else. And just because AI is here, and believe me, it's amazing. It truly is. I've used it with my class, and it's amazing how the information, you just ask a question, and they shift out all of the information in less than a minute. And not only did they shift out, I got the information from, but the only thing about it, AI only know what has been inputted into its system. And the only someone that's inputted is people like you and I.
Allah said, and he said, Jibril, first of all, Allah said, the everything, he didn't leave nothing out in the Quran, nothing. And then he tells us that he took Jibril up to the island and he looked at it and he said, how can anybody go wrong? In the blinking of an eye, he said, when Shaitan had put his influences in, he tapped him and said, anybody go right? At the same time, in the scripture we read, going back to Christianity, Allah said, and everything he created and it was good. And if we go back, everything we needed there, all of this AI, AI was there when Allah showed you real, the creation. What wasn't there, we wasn't there, our man. And Allah said, even in yourself, look at all this. Rostam, I didn't start out, 77 years old. I started out as a baby, knowing nothing. Had to crawl, walk, and grow. So that's what society is. And like Sister Rose was saying, sometimes we think we know everything. We don't know.
and we have to see that we don't know. And as Muslims, we look at everything through a different lens than other people. And when we come to that conclusion in our life that we look at everything as pleasing Allah and knowing that Allah is God, that's what keeps us on the straight path and keep us understanding what's happening. You change as Muslims. We are just like everything else evolves. We come from not knowing to knowing. And then knowing. You know, I heard one brother say, we have to get out of the realm of being students. No, we don't until we die. Because we steady learning, steady evolving, steady growing. And that's what the Quran shows us. We hear and we obey. It's that simple. That's for the believer, because our trust is that if we put all of our trust in Allah, we just move on with the technology. Whatever happens, technology, whatever is happening, we move on with it and we grow with it. And we don't, that's what happened, you know, the time that they wouldn't let you translate a hand into another language. They thought it was harassment too. So everything in life, even in us, we have to evolve.
Islam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Islam.
You were talking about Google earlier, and it made me reflect on when I first started using computers. If you wanted a particular topic and you typed it in, well, the company or agency that used that or was used more often than the others, that's the name that would pop up first in your Google search. And then I reflected on years ago how Imam Muhammad had established all these committees, cultural committees, governmental committees, and business committees. And I was on the cultural committee. And there were so very, very many artists, Muslim or Islamic artists, that had been producing music. And if we had AI at that time to promote the music, that every time somebody did a Google search about Islamic music or about Muslims, then that would be the thing that they would see first. With AI, the obligation is on us to push information using AI out into the, what would you call it?
The metaverse.
Yeah, the metaverse. Push the information out into the metaverse. So they want information related to culture. What pops up first is Islamic culture. The music, the media, the movie, you know, all of those things. They type in something for business. What pops up first is the business that Muslims own. So we have to flood this AI, metaverse, whatever you call it, with information that comes from us. So every time anybody does a search from here until eternity, what pops up first is something. And so we guide AI in that, and controlling the culture, controlling business, controlling education, whatever it is we're involved in, we have to push what we have as our what's the word? Our opinions about it, our work in that area, push that out first. So every
Let me say this because it's kind of struck me when.
I just want to touch on what Sister Leah said really quickly, and then to Brother Muhammad. That is a encapsulation. Title was Dawah to the Machine.
Right.
And that's what that was the point, to point out what we have in front of us. And this that you just mentioned are how you give Dawah to the machine. For those youth who gave us the technologies that they use, they all mentioned a social media platform of some type, which is within itself, hey, that's streaming and that's video, although they do have AI components in it. And one of those AI components is just the algorithm things. It'll start to give you back more of those type of searches. It's made an attempt to understand what you like. And as Sister, and which was the topic of the khutbah, pour those things in. This is the part that's a lot easier to understand the neurological aspects of wheelchair or the other function that made the wheelchair function with an algorithm ideas that come in, and if we allow those things to come in, then eventually they'll manifest themselves out. In the algorithm, it gives you back what you put into it. It may initially offer things to you. As you start to feed more into it, it will become far more fine-tuned to what it is that you like. It also informs the imagery or the perspective of Islam for those who may be searching. One more thing, Brother Muhammad. The first thing that was mentioned by Sister Charmaine, which was what knows it all, which we know this, but it's nothing to be afraid of. Now, it's a very monumental tool. This is what the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years will look like. Manual gardening tools. Then the biplane came in, and big manufacturing tools came in, and those jobs went away. And you can't even look back and fathom how someone has produced that manually now. You have tools that have made that almost lacking wisdom because you have a tool that does it so well that you allow the tool to do it, but you have to master the tool. Intelligence as a whole is a lost point out, period, whether it's artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is just a shadow of our own intelligence. It moves a lot faster, but it's still a reflection of our own intelligence. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us the vice regions on earth. And the one thing that we do have with artificial is that's not quite like it. It doesn't function on its own. It only responds to, takes in, and puts out what's initially put into it to begin with.
Assalamu alaikum. Just trying to expand a little bit on a couple of things that Sister Rose and Brother Salim change. And when you that word and you talk about changing, we are changing. We're changing just right now, as we said in this room. Certain cells and molecules are made up, the body is changing. And what we have heard today is changing our whole concept and perspective on some of the things that have been said just today. So we are changing. When you think about as individuals, we are custodians. So we are always trying to do something to increase that way we think, the way we act, and the way we do as Muslims. Assalamu alaikum.
Quick statement. When I saw the vacuum cleaner cleaning up the house by itself, I had some issues with it. I just personally had issues. I thought it was kind of lazy. But if you got a tractor that'll cut my yard by itself, they got cars that'll still drive with, and a car came by itself with nobody in it. That's messed up. He got to the fork in the road and didn't know which way to go. Yeah, we'll keep this 100. So, it serves this purpose. But I would be kind of leery right now getting in the car. You're going to drive me where I want to go because they told you where to go. That's what Ali was saying. We didn't tell the car which way to go when after the fork or which road it needed to take, the direction it needed to go. So, we know the Flintstones, we know the Jetsons and all that stuff way back then. We're talking, how did they come up with all this stuff? We thought that was, that's not going to happen. But it's happening now from the Jetsons way back at the talking on the phones or flying here. That is the evolution of time. That's all that is. So we just pray that we can stay sound enough in our minds that we can grasp the benefit in it and be conscious enough to not be overwhelmed till we just reject it. That's all.
Okay. And so everything that we have all said and commented on was from a particular generation. You on the youth when you open this up, what is the charge to our youth with AI? That's, you know, inshallah, I'm gonna be, okay? But y'all are gonna be here longer than, and we'll have your hand on this AI. So what is the charge to our youth?
This is the world that they'll live their lives in. It won't look the way that it looks now. These tools will be the dominant tool. These environments will be by these tools. And a question to our youth, if we'll circle around to them again, or the question for us first is it more dangerous to grab hold of these tools, and we have no influence on what that looks like? Because the tools, people are mastering these tools every day, and they're doing some pretty, I don't want to use the word amazing, more significant accelerating we've ever seen happen before. And they're not going to stop using the tools for those means. The charge for the youth is to first their mind, because the majority of them have already been. So for our youth here now, our grandchildren, because I don't have any grandkids yet, I know some of us already do, but for this generation that we have that's high school to college now, that this is the environment that they will inherit. And when they are parents, if they haven't built something, then the children, their children are going to be in a very, very complicated circumstance. And for us as the pioneers, elders, and leadership here today is to encourage them to embrace it, hold it in their hands every day. The two devices that were mentioned right now, which were the cell phone and the tablet, that's the story for it. That's where it resides largely. There's free apps on there that I'm sure each ChatGPT or something like TikTok, which gives out information. It pretty much pushes information out to you, but they also know influencers, which are people who are not consuming information. They're actually pushing the information, who they are, what they think, how they feel, what's good to them, what's cool to them, what's important to them. Viral is a product of that. Control of the tool and becoming that's being listened to instead of the one that's listening.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I would like to pose a question to everyone, and that is, what is the difference between and influence? Because as we know, the only real reality is Allah. So in utilize as opposed to I, where can we take this AI or I? Assalamu alaikum.
The distinct difference between RI and AI is the but our eye by the environment around us and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to be able to experience and what we glean from what we experience. So we started with Adam and Allah teaching him the name of things. AI is able to take that information, whether the information is wise, whether it's ignorant, whether it's just, it's able to take that RIN, interpret it based on two. So it's informed by something. It's not intelligence all within itself. It's dependent on our, which is why it's such an important topic. To not engage leaves that intelligence to be grafted by those who don't think like us. And work life. City government, police departments, juvenile justice systems. We talked in the cookbook about the school to prison pipeline that was deliberately designed. And it uses certain demographics and characteristics of a person. These things are already using that same logic by the same people who created that same system to be able to determine even earlier markers of which a child should be punished rather than aided. For those who, especially those of us here who have experienced some level of systemic oppression and wondered what is it that we can do to set it. Early intervention, access to statistics, seeing the change happening, reactive, being able to have at least one person walking with you, which is your assistant, to do the research that you would ordinarily take. And that's why I opened with the scenario of that particular company that I was working with, because I had an opportunity to use it. Been in IT for 25 years, and I'm just as amazed at where artificial intelligence is as someone who's not coming in contact. The way that it moves, fast that it moves. I had a reference here because there was another project the city council was discussing at Juma, which is XAI, which is down maybe 4 or 5 miles from here. Well, what is that? So what that is, how fast we know AI can move, what it can accomplish. XAI here in Memphis, which will be the next Silicon Valley, has taken everything that we now know about AI, and that will move even hundreds of times faster than what we already.
So, why would you have any idea of why Memphis was selected for that project? It's real interesting. From all the places, Memphis was chosen, and I hadn't heard that in the news anywhere of why Memphis was chosen.
They haven't stated. I've wanted to. I have some preliminary thoughts that I'll save for now until I can have a little bit more intelligent of an answer. The best one that's not completely in conspiracy, for the same reason FedEx is here, just because of our central location. Because one of the things outside of the AI itself, you still will have products. Hopefully by then, having to drive by then, because they've already tried self-driving trucks. That's not science fiction either. They didn't work very well because they already have vehicles that drive themselves. They already have lawn mowers that'll cut your entire yard by being pre-programmed. And for those things, it's not as confusing as the real. We ever had a sheet of graphing, right? You have a sheet of graphing paper. If you use a mouse, when you're on your computer. It's just a grid. It knows where boundaries are. It knows where to stop, where to turn. It has no fencing. It knows if it's going out an extra couple of centimeters, it needs to come back inside of this line. Yes, ma'am.
Sound like I know this gonna sound really far-fetched, but I saw Elon Musk in an interview, and he was asked Memphis, and he said because of the pyramid, and he anticipated this is where the next God is gonna come from. And you know, he said that.
Well, thanks, ma'am.
While you were saying that, they have programs on YouTube now on how to learn AI. Get educated in what it's all about, how to operate in it, and how to function in it. But mainly how to operate and understand it.
I saw them, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a while ago, when us first came to this, it was all in the newspaper. The article was about our water, the purity of it, and how it would generate energy at a faster rate to power. Yes, and I remember reading that when his first round, it was before all this stuff started popping up. His first round of coming, it was about the purity of our water, and that would generate electricity and power at a faster rate than any.
I do have a question. The previous charge to the youth. Well, the first thing has to be for us to have for you guys to have a vision of what you want your future to look like. So we all had struggle was the struggle of the time. The people who were engaged in this struggle had a vision of what their future would look like getting past this. And then the next phase was independence and stability. And that will continue to be the thing, but for the youth to look at themselves in position of leadership. And if you're in a career, change the world. Now, I say that, and that's hyperbole usually with artificial intelligence. They have availability to tools that will allow them to accomplish the things that they think about at a much more rapid speed than we could have ever imagined. We had ideas, we had to use muscle and manpower alone a lot of the time. Now they actually have it. So if Allah has granted them with a sharper than the previous generation, because these new, they're growing up on these tools. These tools without even realizing that they have how powerful they are. And the question is, are you only using it for entertainment? Right. Or are you using it to be able to lead, which is why I open with you. And to think about those tools and what do you want to see tomorrow look like? What changes would you like to paying for when you look at society? And in your chosen field of expertise, how would you change something for the better? And how will that tool enable you to change something for the better?
Brother Ollie, it kind of struck me when you said that, you know, being in the construction field, I can recall when you had to have electric in the houses to do anything. If you have no electricity, you know, you were just out on the luck. Now you got power tools. And to me, that's one of the greatest inventions that could have happened, because you can go into a place now, you ain't got to worry about, I need you. You got the ability to use it now. It was kind of remind me of what Rasul was talking about the phones. You know, at one time I remember many years before the cell phone came into existence. I used to wonder, boy, if we could have a phone in our car, and all I could see then is show you a small amount of is some service, but you can't buy it to your car, right? So here's technology came along and came up with a better sales, looking at the body of and extracting from the body cells and make a cell that you could use to service power tools and things of that nature. And so this is phenomenal when you think about it in essence. We're thinking about the time that we're in now and in the time that our children is in. And way back that here we are leaving computer age going straight to space age. You'll be able to be here today in one place the same time in the spin of a moment. So it's just these are the signs of time. You know, and think about that's why it's so important. And as Imam Salim said about the Quran, and you think about the opening of the Quran and what, and now I know why it's so important that we read not only the Quran, but read the creation and the signs of time.
Reading the creation, which is all of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, which includes the things and the tools that we're talking about creation, recognizing it as something that needs to be mastered, and man means mind, and woman is the womb of mind. But understanding womb in a grander concept here, this will be the womb that cultivates the output for the next generation. And the womb of the future minds is this technology. I would give charge to one very simple thing, just something really basic and simple that you want to change. So we could imagine we were in civics class. You see in your environment around you that you would like to change. And think of one tool that you can use that will assist you in that change. What example?
Poignant question is, what's the difference in real intelligence and artificial intelligence? When you say what's the difference in real intelligence and artificial intelligence, and I think your words was the source, origin source. Very important because for us as believers, the source we validate all knowledge based on the Quran. If what's coming to us from any knowledge is at odds with the Quran, opposes the Quran, it is as secondary. So I see the Quran as the book or revelation or the source of knowledge to base all the other knowledge upon. I'm not anti technology. I'm with technology because I think even in my field, we would it'd be stagecoach the way we consider accounting now as opposed to then. They're given to us in AI format, ought to be subject to the looking at it through the lens of the Quran. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Imam, since the Quran is the source of all knowledge, how would you promulgate the Quran to others that they would see all, if you have an idea? Right to me. Yes, sir. You get at the Imam standing up there. Well, I would like to toss it over to you. Well, there's many books out, and knowledge out that says how the prophets talk. And I think just to kind of summarize it without being too long is to a way of life. And our Imam was mentioning to us, so when we do dawah, invite people to the masjid, invite them to. So I think this, we invite those persons who we are in contact with through our words, through our actions, through our sympathy, through our sensitivities, through our compassion to them, to this way of life that's promoted al-Islam.
The message and the source of knowledge didn't change. The audience and the to reach that audience are what's changing. So, like the Imam said, the Quran is still what we're informed by, and that means as we speak to people. But just side and find the people, and then we got microphones, and then now we have YouTube, we have these other social media platforms. The message didn't change, nor did the source of the message. It's just the mechanism that you use to display the message.
Assalamu alaikum. You asked a question that ran through my mind, and that was, what would you do to change something? And the thing, what I would want to see change most is that mechanism, like you said, to allow, especially, but not only the youth, but also the others to help advance humanity in a way that it would produce more believers. Because I think that's the key, is disbelievers. You got believers being that the humanity advancement will be far greater than believers. And so that would be one of the things I would want to work towards seeing. It could be used to advance further perhaps in a far greater. Well, the process is one thing, I don't think with the tools, a greater opportunity looking over time, looking back from the past, from the time I've been here on this earth, you know, that I've seen uh, progression uh, along the way. You know, I've seen advancement along the way. And based on what I've seen and experienced being, I think that process or that mechanism that could uh, allow be greater in believers, you know, being greater believers, then that would be the one thing that I see that could have bring about that advancement that I would like to see.
I have one closing question, and this is not a question to be answered today, but for the youth, for those who, uh, and it's something just to think about. And I think it gets to the core of the question about RI and AI, is our own thought processes that originate from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without input, but just observation, shaped and cultivated by some, because there are corrupt ideas as well. There is the ability to still think in a way that's not guided by that.
Right.
For our youth to just think one thing between now and the next month. And what that is to use your own thought processes to just one thing that it reiterates what I just mentioned, one thing that you could change, and one technology that will allow you to change. Because typically when we talk about change, especially when we're in high school, we're talking about something who may not get the tools to even be able to make on it, so maybe we're in our 40s. But with these tools, you're talking with the energy, with the foresight, and taking those thoughts and being able to put them into action. And I would say to learn one new technology of actually changing something. And whatever that something is, it originates from your mind. And that's real intelligence. It's informed from your own mind, from your own observations, guided by what you know about Islam and your mission as the next generation of leadership in Islam. And to align yourselves with tools that are available to you to accomplish that change. So just one thing, one tool, and to start. Assalamu alaikum.
Are you gonna close out first? I need to make announcements after you close out.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.
Assalamualaikum. Just a reminder, Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. Town hall meeting here at the Master for Believers. Please come out and encourage others to come out in conversation too. Again, if you have not completed a membership form, please fill out the card out on the table in the foyer. If there are any 2025 graduates from high school that you have not submitted their name to me, please do so. Let me, we want to thank Mariam. Here she is, Queen. She was raised in this masjid, alhamdulillah. She came back trying to make sure Talim still in me. And she has invited some people on to welcome our guests in. They're on the end down there, British hand. Welcome to Masjid of Mukminoon. Come back anytime. And Mariam, so glad to see you. So with that being said, we want to make sure that we are mindful of the town hall meeting on Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Hope to see y'all back there, inshallah. Don't forget the 2025 graduates. Also, the Arabic beginners Arabic class and adult Arabic class is every first and third Sunday at 11:25 a.m. community affairs is meeting third Sunday at 11 o'clock via inshallah. And I don't know if anything else. I'm missing anything. Last Saturday of every month, you know that. And I have to say this, I was in a location that was a food desert, and I was just kind of amazed at where I was. As I was looking for a store and could not find a store in the area. It was just right here in Memphis, down there just in Tullahoma area. There's not a anywhere in the area. That is just amazing to me. They had to come all the way back to Whitehaven to go to the store. But it is, we want to be mindful of our people of community in our area. Food is secure. Halal food pantry, alhamdulillah, helps to try to meet that need. But to be mindful of them, please keep in your du'as all those believers who are sick, those who are recuperating. And don't forget, I told you all about Herbert, who is relocated to Minnesota. He's doing what we had last week. Please keep everybody in your dua. Assalamu
And don't forget to true the church.
Oh, don't forget the Truth Church you got out there in the house.
No, that's what you got.
One announcement. He is a seller of the True Detergent.
Everybody going to the room and getting them?
I saw later.
Salam.
Can I just say one thing?
Come on.
Kim, made a request. We're having a meeting downstairs. Downstairs, we have some chairs with covers on. We need some hands to help us kind of situate that room and get it arranged.
Also, she asked, we're trying to start at 6 p.m. It's 5:45 if you can.
Assalamu alaikum. We're still seeking new subscription for the Muslim Journal on the 90-day drive. Pick out a new subscription, please notify me by some manner, either in person or by phone or email, whichever way that you can inform me. I'm trying to keep all the subscriptions coming in our state. Thank you.
Back.